What's up, sixth grade? Good morning. Happy Monday. Trying something a little bit different today. So hopefully you guys like the new format. Mrs. Schaefer taught me some new technology. So hopefully you can see the visual aids a little bit better. So let's get right to it. First reminder or announcement for today. Remember, part of being a hashtag future ready beaver means that you value diversity. Okay. And that's part of what's wonderful about our school. We have a pretty diverse student body, and just know that that's something that we should celebrate. Okay, people's different viewpoints, where they come from, their culture, language differences. That can teach us good stuff. Really, it's something to definitely celebrate. And I think of when my first teaching job in Oregon, nice place, but lots of just kind of the same type of kid, same type of family. They all drove four wheelers to school often, which was fine. But I like that this school, WTMS, we have a bit more diversity. So not just within the school community, but forever. That's part of what makes America wonderful. Wonderful place to live is our ability to express ourselves differently, have bring our own cultures to the table, and hopefully, as a future ready beaver, you're going to celebrate. Certainly, never judge or dismiss or hopefully discriminate against those things. And it's not okay or good enough just to simply tolerate them. We should be celebrate them for sure. Noticed a little bit lately in the hallways that you guys need a quick reminder. Hillcrest was a few years ago, certainly, but Kaifuti certainly still applies. In the hallways on recess, we've had a few little student conflicts. Leave each other alone, leave each other's stuff alone. And you guys are not Hillcrest students anymore, but maybe we still need to get a little bit more mature and know that we never put our hands on people in any unwanted way. All right. Keep remembering to do your part in terms of masking up, especially in the hallway. Hopefully, you guys can see all of that screen. I don't know that you can. I get a little frustrated because there's kids that I don't see. And remember, the hallways are the most important time to help us limit the spread, stay in school, because that's when you mix with all sorts of kids. All right. I know sometimes it's easy to forget or you think it's maybe not important, but this is, as we've told you before, the most that the virus has been affecting our local community for sure. And we want to be able to stay in school and see each other and keep learning. So please do your part. All right. That's our reminders for today. From last week, just a quick review. Remember, we talked about the personal bank account being a metaphor that represents your kind of self esteem, right? And you need to put deposits in, things that give you a boost. As opposed to those things that withdraw from your personal bank account. So when we ever talk about PBA this year, personal bank account, that's what we're talking about. Okay, find some things to help yourself feel better. Today's lesson, we finally, after all this time, get into habit one, which is called be proactive. Say it with me, class, if you can hear me. Be proactive. All right. If you don't know what that word means, essentially you are in charge. Sean from his book, Sean Covey, says you are the force, the driving force in your life for sure. All right. Let's discover a bit more about what that actually means, shall we? What does it mean to be proactive? Well, here's a quote from the father of the habit, Stephen Covey, Sean's dad. That basically is giving you a good definition of this. So proactivity means more than just taking initiative, being the decider. It means that as human beings, we are responsible for our own lives. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not of our conditions. I like that. Okay, success really may be a function of our decisions, not our conditions. Meaning, yeah, you might have some different circumstances that are challenging at home, at school, but what you do with them and the choices you make, what's within your circle of control, which is previewing what we're going to learn about soon, is what makes all the difference. I didn't bring the actual book with me to quote it, which would probably be good. But this book here, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, one of my favorite books, is about one man's journey through concentration camps in the Holocaust. And after he survived that ordeal, even though lots of his friends and family did not, he became a groundbreaking psychologist. All right. And one of the things he talked about is the huge gap between stimulus and response. And I wish I had the exact quote. Maybe you'd like it, but he talks about that in that condition, the most inhumane conditions of all time. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the Holocaust, we better talk to some of your teachers in the past. But in those concentration camps where the Nazis had stripped him of all humanity, treated him like an animal, taken food from him, and you could just say like how's he supposed to be happy or proactive in that situation? Well, he said that's the stimulus. That's the thing that happens to you. Your response is where you always have a choice. All right. So yeah, life throws you some lemons, and not to dismiss it, but the Holocaust is the biggest of lemons. And he learned that as long as you had purpose and meaning and you reacted and you were in control of that, he said they couldn't take that from me. They couldn't take his ability to react to those things within the Holocaust. So pretty cool. So we'll talk about the limits of being proactive in a bit, but really in that way, your response to what you do or what happens to you is really unlimited. All right. So if you're trying to know if you're a proactive person versus the opposite, a reactive, just think of your language. All right. And I'm not talking about swear words and watching your language. Maybe you know that reference or picture there, but proactive people say things like, I'll do it. I can do better than that. What can I do to fix things? I've decided there's got to be a better way. My day was great versus the people who just respond and react. They don't say I'll do it. They'll say I'll try. Some of you guys know that Yoda is not a big fan of just saying I'll try. That's just the way I am. There's nothing I can do. I have to. Sorry, my picture's in the way there. I'm going to put that down for a second so I can see if that actually works to take my camera away. Oh, it was working before. Never mind. I don't know all the technology yet, but yeah, they just are always responding and they're letting other people dictate what's going on. So not ideal, obviously. Next up, maybe. There we go. That is a reactive person right there. Okay, that they're always kind of a shook up pop, and anything that sets them off. And I think of honestly, love the dude, but Sawyer, my little 2-year-old, is a very reactive person, and he looks a little bit like that shook up can of soda all the time, where small little things can set him off. All right, none of us are two anymore, though. Okay? We can choose to respond to the stimuluses and the things that happen to us. From there, I don't know if I'll play any of these videos for you today, just because I'm a little weird about this technology. Maybe I'll try this one. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to sound. I actually have to skip this one a little bit. But it's a show, and that was likely really loud. I'm sorry. How ridiculous reactive people can be. And you've probably seen some of these YouTube compilations before, like YouTube fails. People that are a little intense about sports, and that just took that away. So we don't need to watch it. But it was a dude who was watching one of his favorite sports teams and freaked out, started yelling at the screen, and his girlfriend or wife or somebody was trying to get him to calm down. Eventually, he threw something and shattered this glass table on the living room floor there, and girlfriend started crying because it was her grandma's table. So and then he said it's not my fault, screaming at the TV like he was blaming the sports team, whoever it was, that it was their fault. Pretty funny. So these three circles are really at the heart of what I want you to know about being proactive. So I'm pointing at the screen, but I don't know if you can see that really, certainly, but maybe with a pointer. I'm just learning this as we go. Oh, not really. Well, let's just look at all three of them, shall we? Okay. And so the circle of no control is things that, and this is the most important concept of today, hopefully you get it, is the weather and your sports team's losing and things that you're born into. Okay. The cost of tuition, the college, the color of your skin, who your parents are, who will win the NBA finals, these things, where you were born. No matter what you do, whether you want to or not, you can't change those things, right? Where we need to live, being proactive is about that center circle. Your choices, your responses, your attitudes, your actions, all those things that you have control over. Notice that it even says rude comments. All the time, people will tell me, hey, so and so did this, and I had to respond. Did you? Okay, that's being responsive. I was talking with some of you sixth graders about getting chased by somebody. And I said, well, why'd you run? Were you afraid of them? He said, no, I wasn't afraid of them. I had to run because they were chasing me. And I said, well, if you don't run, they can't chase you, right? So just live in that circle of control. These other two are talking about how you can make that circle bigger or smaller. Okay. People who are living in the outside circle, all of a sudden it feels like they have no control. People who've ever been kind of stressed out, I think their life is chaos and all this stuff's weighing down on them. The circle in the middle gets smaller and smaller because they're reactive. They're worried too much about the weather and all those things. And so eventually we call it flexing your proactive muscles. That circle at least influence, maybe you can't control everything, but you could influence the stuff around you, starts to feel smaller versus this far right one over here, or whatever direction that is for you. If you live in the middle, the circle of control and influence feels bigger, right? If you start focusing on yourself first, and you can start impacting people and having a bigger impact. So if you start here in the middle and just say, here's my circle of control, and not worry so much about the outside stuff, social media comments, did my picture get enough likes, all those things, then the circle in the middle will start to feel bigger, and you'll be able to influence more things in your life, and you'll feel better. All right. Reality check for a second. You may be saying, like, okay, Schaefer says it's all about us and our choices, and if we're proactive, we can control our own life. Well, you're still kind of young and you're a minor, and maybe you feel like this dude who maybe is a hyperactive kid at Disneyland, super hyped to go on Space Mountain, but mom has not very fun monkey leash backpack thing, which always seemed weird to me, but I've never taken a kid to Disneyland, so probably necessary. All right. So I do want to be, yeah, maybe you're not as proactive, or have as big a circle of control as some of the adults in your life, but here's what I'd tell you. All right. Probably not. No. Okay. There's rules, but really there's always rules and laws in the world. But what I would tell you is, when you have the opportunity to flex your proactive muscles, and if you can't read that because my face is in the way it says, when you do get some freedom, using it wisely will lead to more freedom. Okay, I'm trying to teach that to my own children, that if you have recess every day, which is a bit of freedom, okay, you don't get to just do whatever, and you're responsible with it, you'll get more time. Okay, your parents say, okay, I'm going to keep you home alone just for like 15 minutes, see how it goes. If it goes well, they'll probably give you 20 minutes, or they'll maybe even let you babysit. Okay, eventually they'll let you drive a car. Not yet, that's illegal. Okay, but when you get older. So no, the circle's maybe not as big as you'd like it to be right now as you're young, but if you continue to take that freedom and use it responsibly, could be growing forever for you. So next one, this is another video that you'll have to watch on your own for some time. I won't share it with you now, but it just tells you, I'm not necessarily not necessarily teaching pod and life lessons is kind of hard for me because I don't have it all figured out. And I remember when people used to talk to me, they'd always seem like they were, I don't know, way too optimistic. Like, you can do anything if you just apply yourself. And I'm like, well, anything? I remember a girl that I coached was talking to me about another player, a boy, and said, you should teach him how to dunk. And I said, what do you mean? She was just, if he works hard, he'll be able to dunk. And I remember looking at the kid and thinking about it. He was like 5'1" and had like an inch vertical leap. And I remember thinking, no matter what I do, that kid's not going to be able to dunk. So no, okay, you can't just do anything. If you want to watch that video, sometimes it talks about, it's a good one for the difference between literal and figurative, but it's really saying that no, there are limits to human ability, right? But they're not as limiting as you might think. Okay, so no, you can't say I can just change the world with one push of my finger, but you do have more influence than you might realize. So I don't know how videos would play on here, but if you watch that one, it is a clean one, but it's kind of funny. All right. And this other video that I won't show you, because again, I just don't know how they're going to sound on here. A real video. And I used to have these when I taught habits last year to the school. But I try to talk about 7 habits of effective people, but what happens if they're defective and they're kind of bad habits, all right? And this is a kid getting arrested. Actually, it's a relatively long one, and the mom is trying to stand up for him because he did some stuff online on a video game. And he was making comments that were threatening towards the school, pretty bad ones, okay, to do some violence. And I remember he was saying, and the mom was saying, he's just a kid, and he's not responsible for this. And the people were saying, I think it's in Florida, that in their state, if you're that specific about a school threat, you can go to prison for a while, okay? And he thought because he was on some online chat game of some kind that it wouldn't be. But his mom says, well, just a child and all these things. But in the end, the choices you make in that circle, you're responsible for them. Okay, so it's both, I guess, optimistic that you said, hey, I have a lot of control, but make sure that when you make those choices, you make good ones. All right. Quote to end on, and this is kind of a good place to stop, I would think. Usually I try to find some smart people, but they must have been unavailable on the internet for me when I first made this, because I'm quoting myself, strangely enough. And it kind of I've had these conversations with kids, and people say, I can kind of do what I want, because the consequences don't always come right away. But let's just say if you accept responsibility for your attitude and actions today, you will avoid someone forcing you later on. Okay, change the wording there a little bit. So accept your attitude and actions today before when someone forces you to do so tomorrow. Okay, and I've talked to people about that. You may have got away with something once, but if you start focusing on that circle of control, be proactive as opposed to the shook up bottle that's just going to react and freak out all the time. That's the very first highly effective habit that you sixth graders need to develop. Okay, hopefully I'll get the technology here figured out a little bit better. Thanks for listening. Have a great Monday. See you.